Hey, what's going on, everybody? Indie Pride here with Milk and Cookies Total War, bringing you another round of 8 matchup between Wolf Blademaster on Gate in this game and Sith Prokratius on Rome. Going to be on Rougion in the snow, and really excited for this matchup because it's two very solid clan players, and they're both bringing relatively interesting builds. I mean, I can't really say that Rome's build is particularly interesting, but we actually haven't gotten a chance to see Rome in this tournament at all, so I'm finally glad we get to see a little bit of legionary cohorts and veteran legionnaires and the legionary armies in general from Rome. We're finally going to get to see that, and on a beautiful map, no less. And with Gate, Wolf Blademaster will go over his build first. Got some spears in the front, some Dacian heavy skirmishers, a main line of mercenary axe warriors, falksmen, and some noble swords in the back. Looks like he has 4 of those. Out on the flanks, some spear horsemen, 4 of those, and 2 bow horsemen in the back just to harass the flanks and maybe find some openings to kill the auxiliary Syrian archers. Looking at Sith Prokratius' build, he's got some Vigiles up in the front, a combination of legionary cohorts on the flanks and veteran legionnaires holding down the center, some Hastati in the back, some Sucii Equites Extraordinari out on the flanks, and some auxiliary cav as well, and then the 2 auxiliary Syrian archers in the back, just warding off the cavalry at the moment. So we can go at 3, 2, 1, press play, and get into it. So looking at this build, it's interesting and probably a good move from Blademaster to move his bow horsemen to the back here and maybe just kind of have the Syrian archers look in the back and worry about these bow horsemen, because if he does get charged into them, probably won't do a ton of damage. But the thing with bow horsemen trying to get at archer units in this game is that they don't necessarily have to do a lot of killing. They're more to just tie down really important units. Now they're roughly the same cost as the auxiliary Syrian archers, a little bit less, but we'll see if he tries to tie down those archers in melee combat or go for a charge here. It looks like he's moving up, and as his main line is looking to engage, it looks like he might run in here. And there's a lot of units backing it up. There's a Legatus and some Vigiles heading over to reinforce, so I'm not sure this is a good move. If you could tie those down while they were shooting at his main line and prevent them from shooting at his main line, that might have been a good move, but I think they're just going to get tied down in melee, and yeah, they're already down to half strength. These bow horsemen are going to rout right off the field. Not really a great use of his funds, and he only got 4 kills on the 2 Syrian archers combined, so that wasn't a very good move from him. Going to lose both his bow. And in the center here, some spear horsemen and spears are going to engage the auxiliary cavalry. I believe he got a good charge off there, and he's going to pull out and leave the spears in melee combat. And the main line of falksmen is going to run up right up the center into the Hastati, who are blunted by some of the spearmen. And this is not going to be an easy fight for Hastati at all. And with the legionnaires in the back, this is not going to be an easy fight for the falksmen at all. They're going to get shredded in melee combat by Hastati, but they did get a good charge bonus, and they are going to blunt the charge and allow some axe warriors to follow it up. I like what Prokratius is doing right now. All his legionnaires are just throwing their Pila. You want to use those when you can, and he's kind of just used the road bump strategy, the roadblock, of putting the Hastati out in front and nullifying a bunch of the charge bonuses of the axe warriors and the falksmen. Moving up some veteran legionnaires, and he has 3 Dacian heavy skirmishers in the back here that is doing some shooting into the legionnaire line. And it looks like they're going to actually start racking up some kills here. They've started shooting at one of the veteran legionnaires, who are now down 20 men. And he's got a bunch of ammo left to continue doing damage. And yeah, those veteran legionnaires, relatively, I mean, they're a cost-effective unit, but he's losing a lot right here to the Dacian heavy skirmishers. There's not a lot on the field for him to counter that with. In the main line, looks like some of the Hastati that did survive are going to get charged by noble swords, and they will get destroyed on that charge. And then out on the flanks, some more noble sword spear horsemen engaging the auxiliary cavalry, who are going to run away. And he did manage to get some spear horsemen in the back into some Vigiles and tie down the Syrian archers, which is probably what he wanted to do at the beginning of this battle, but didn't really manage to work out quite the way he wanted to. And the Syrian archers got tied down again. They're not shooting, but again, I've only lost 5 men, so not really a big deal there. Important engagements right now that I'd say might change the outcome of this game. How the noble swords do out on the flanks against the legionary cohort, they should win, but there are some free Sucii Extraordinari that might get around. They might get to this Dacian heavy skirmisher. It looks like they're pulling around over on Gate's right flank. Looks like Prokratius is going to get a good charge into them, and they have a very high charge bonus of 57, but they are Dacian heavy skirmishers, so they will survive in melee combat longer than a lot of other skirmishers. But he's going to charge, not leave them in melee combat for very long, and actually go for a hammer and anvil on the noble swords, and the headhunt has just worn off on them, so they're exhausted or very tired at this point, and that means they're probably going to drop very, very quickly with a veteran legionnaire engaged on the front. So repeated hammer and anvils here might be able to route that. Over on the left flank, noble swords The general is actually at 120 men, haven't taken really any HP damage at all. And it looks like some Sakuya Extraordinary over on Gatei's left flank as well is going to come in and get another rear hammer and anvil off on the Noble Swords. Really good move from Prokratius here. Not a whole lot that Blademaster could actually do in that engagement. He did have some Noble Swords, the general, but he's going to try to wrap them up and should be able to kill these Sakuya Extraordinary if they don't pull out soon. Main infantry line seems to be going relatively evenly at the moment. There's a Noble Sword in the center that's getting beaten to hell by the Veteran Legionnaires, and that's because of the HP damage done to them by the Sakuya Extraordinary. Mercenary Axe Warriors are going to start wavering and rout soon, and the main line actually for Gatei is not holding particularly strong. Out on the flanks he's doing much better, however. He has popped Headhunt on another one of his Noble Swords, and they're taking an engagement with Veteran Legionnaires and Legionary Cohort. There's also a Mercenary Axe Warrior engaged with the Veteran Legionnaires. I believe he could do a lot of damage with that Noble Sword. I'm not so sure the Axe Warriors are going to have a good time against the Veteran Legions over on Rome's left flank. And in the center here, yeah, his line's going to break soon. Noble Sword's only down to 30 men. But a lot of the cavalry for Rome is dead at this point. All the cavalry for Gatei is dead. And the Syrian heavy archers are mostly out of this fight. There's one of them that's full strength, but the other one is kind of in the back doing nothing. And I think Prokratius has lost micro in a couple of his units here. I think he could be keeping his general a little bit closer to the main line. The Noble Swords are starting to make their presence felt, though, over on Gatei's left. And they are really tanking up a bunch of engagements here. The Veteran Legionnaires, some Vigilés, and one of the Legionary Cohorts is going to rout as well. And I think if Blademaster has any hope of winning this battle, as it's really starting to shift in Rome's favor, it'll come down to these two Noble Swords. Sakuya Extraordinary coming in for a rear charge, going to do a lot of damage to those Noble Swords that are tied down in melee, but to be honest, that cavalry is really hurt. They're at half strength, and their HP is probably very far down, so if he leaves them in melee combat, they might rout, and they're starting to be wavering here. Legionary Cohort going to rout soon. Sakuya Extraordinary down to 29 men. But the center is completely broken for Gatei, and this looks really bad for Blademaster at the moment. He's in really bad shape. He doesn't have very many units on the field at all. He has one Noble Sword with 50 men, fighting some Veteran Legionnaires over on his right flank. He has one Spear unit, which is not a good unit at all. It's actually horrible, one of the worst Spear units in the game. But, I mean, low cost, like, good for killing cavalry if they manage to get tied down, but that's not going to do well against Veteran Legionnaires in melee combat, of course. And then the two Noble Swords over on the other side. He did pop Headhunt and then Battle Rhythm and Second Wind, I believe, so they are fresh now, which is really important for him, but they are down to 84 men out of 120, and his other one are down to 69 out of 120. So, again, only 4 units left on the field for Gatei, but I think Prokratius has done not a great job of flanking these units. He's going to get a good rear charge off of the Legatus, but they're Legatus. They aren't really meant to be in melee combat, and they've kind of gotten really far into that engagement, probably more than they wanted to. They're exhausted as well, and the Noble Swords were able to turn around, and they're starting to do a lot of damage there. If his general dies here, he might be in really big trouble. He's going to try to pull out, and we'll see if that actually ended up losing his gen in that fight. They went down to 13 men. Looking at the... No, his general's still alive. General is still alive, but the two Noble Swords are still engaged. One of the Veteran Legionnaires is probably going to rout. The other side of the fight here, there's a Noble Sword and Shield Wall down to 26 men. They're not going to be able to win that fight, and actually they're going to get rear charged by the remnants of the Sakuya Extraordinary. So that unit is probably going to rout in a couple of seconds, and that's going to be a really big issue, because that's going to mean that there are only 2 units left on the field for Blademaster. Now, there isn't a lot of cavalry left for Rome at this point, and Gatei is going to engage his 2 Noble Swords and get a rear charge off again with the Legatus, but I'm not sure he wants to commit that, because if his general dies here, and it's really scary against a unit that just popped Headhunt and Second Wind, if his general dies here, things might start changing for him. But look at the balance bar. So far in Rome's favor, it's like 7/8 in favor of Rome at the moment. If it got even much worse than this, it would just cause a mass rout on the Noble Swords. But the general is wavering at the moment. Did general die? No, but casualties sustained, and not very many units. A bunch of units wavering. Auxiliary Cav just broke. Legatus down to 9 men. 2 or 3 units just broke for Rome. And we are now down to 9 Legatus, 2 Veteran Legionnaires, and a Auxiliary Syrian Archer. Only 2 Noble Swords left on the field for Gatei. And looking at the balance bar, it's really far in Rome's favor, which I think is a little weird. I think it's because the Syrian archers still have ammo, and as long as they have ammo, they're counted much higher in the scheme of things for the balance bar. But when they run out of ammo, which they might do so soon, in fact, they just switched their daggers, so they might be out of ammo completely now. Balance bar might shift in their favor. We'll see in a second if he actually run out of ammo. But 69 men in one veteran legionnaire, 83 men in the other, 9 in the Legatus, and then 82 in the Syrian archer for Prokratius, and then 47 in the general unit for Gate, and 55 for the other noble swords. So I like Blademaster's positioning here. He's going to set up in the woods and just kind of wait it out, see if Prokratius will waste any more ammunition into the woods. Doesn't look like he's going to fall for that bait. And they're just going to have a little bit of a staring contest at the moment. Very smart use of second wind here. He's going to keep his other noble sword fresh, and they're both fresh, and that's a really big deal. And that's one reason that the second wind general and strategy general is so important in late game situations. If you can get a unit that was previously exhausted into a fresh state, it's so important because the morale debuffs will completely disappear from being exhausted, and those make a very big impact and hurt how effective you are in melee combat. So the fact that those are two fresh units right now, even though the balance bar is so far in Ro8's favor, I wouldn't say that he's definitely going to win this game, because one-on-one veteran legionnaires will struggle against noble swords, especially if he pops headhunt. And this could go either way, I still think. Prokratius, I mean, certainly looking at the balance bar, huge advantage there, but Legatus aren't going to make a big impact on this game. And if he loses a general here, that could be a big issue. But again, that's the same thing for the noble swords. If he loses his general, it might even be worse for Gate, because I don't believe... Are these disciplined? I'm not actually sure if noble swords are disciplined. They have encouraged, but they're not disciplined. So if the general dies, yeah, they'll have a problem with that. Veteran legionnaires are disciplined, though, so they have that discipline trait. And it looks like the engagement is going to start here. I'm really liking what Prokratius is doing. He's going to pop his general ability, the raised banner, and he's going to move the Syrian archers, who I believe are close to out of ammo. They're going to get one more volley off. He's going to, I believe this is probably their last volley. He's going to run them ahead of the veteran legionnaires and blunt the charge bonus, which is 36, very large for the noble swords. He's going to blunt that charge and then follow it up with the veteran legionnaires. So good move, good use of the Syrian archers to blunt the charge, prevent them from getting the full charge bonus, but he can only do that on one unit. And now it's going to be a melee grind. And it's going to be who can win the fight. Headhunt, Battle Rhythm have been popped on both units, and they have much better stats than the veteran legionnaires at this point. But the question is, there's wavering already. There's wavering for one veteran legionnaire. I don't like what Blademaster's doing here, is pulling away from the veteran legionnaire. He's turned his back. He's going to lose some units there that he probably shouldn't have. Actually lost 10 men doing that, but he tried to catch the general. Going to enter melee combat again. Rear charge from the Legatus. They just died. I think his general just died. They're wavering. Yeah, they just shattered off the field. Another veteran legionnaire just shattered as well. I think Blademaster might have just brought this back. He's going to be able to flank around with this other noble sword that's not tied down. Red morale for the veteran legionnaire. And this is insane. I mean, the balance bar was so far in Ro8's favor. And I think he's going to be able to flank around with this other noble sword. If he gets it under control, they're kind of tied down, killing routing units at the moment. They're kind of wasting time, but he's going to get a flanking charge off now. Yeah. Yeah, they're just wavering. This is over. Gate actually managed to pull that one back. That's absolutely insane. I don't think I've ever seen the balance bar that far in someone's favor and had the other player bring it back. And I think it was misleading because the Syrian archers didn't have a lot of ammo left, so they weren't particularly useful. But wow, that was an insane ending. Bow Horsemen did absolutely nothing for Gate. Cavalry really didn't do much for him either, but the noble swords, 337 kills, 253 kills. Those were the last two units that engaged at the end. They both made it up to 3 chevrons. Completely ridiculous. I think both players had a few micro lapses. Certainly the Bow Horseman from Blademaster, not fantastic. I think actually Prokratius did pretty well overall. But I think the engagements at the end there, having a different general, having the regular commander general for the raised banner and rally wasn't actually as effective as having the strategist general with second wind, because refreshing that other noble sword and getting rid of that exhaustion on a snowy map in late game is just so potent, and it allowed them to use headhunt. And yeah, one-on-one veteran legionnaires are going to have a hard time with noble swords, and we saw that at the end there. Really good use of the auxiliary cav and Sukiai Extraordinari from Prokratius. I think he did a good job with them. And actually he got 86 kills on his Legatus as well, so that's pretty strong. But in general, it looked like the Noble Swords were just too much for this Roman sword build. And they just made such a big impact at the end there. 337 kills on your general is insane. And the Dacian Heavy Skirmishers, I think, were a really good move as well. They were able to pepper the Legionary line and do some HP damage before he got into melee combat. I think that Blademaster didn't do a fantastic job flanking in this game. And maybe it's because he didn't have enough swords or units to really do that. But I think that in general, the infantry engagement, I think Prokratius might have done a better job than Blademaster, but like just meat shielding with the Hastati, blocking the charge bonuses of some of those noble swords, and certainly out on the flanks, he got some really good hammer and anvils off. But I think the general decision and the four noble swords for Gate really sealed the deal for him, and it made him bring it back a game that I didn't think he could win. Like that has got to be one of the most insane comebacks I've seen, at least in terms of how far the balance bar was shifted in Prokratius' favor. But with that win, it looks like all the round of 8 matchups are complete. Looks like Blademaster will advance to the final 4, and that means that it's going to be Maximus Decimus Meridius and Blademaster versus against each other in one semifinal matchup, and then TGR Obelix and Wolf Mad Slinky. So there are actually 2 Wolf players who have made it to the semifinals of this tournament, and those games will be best of 3. So really excited to bring those to you. 2 really good matchups between clan players and people who have a lot of experience in the tournament scene. So I'm excited for the rest of this tournament. Looks like we only have 2 semifinal matchups left, and then the final matchup, which will be a best of 5. So hope you guys enjoyed that game. I think that was absolutely insane, really entertaining, and I look forward to bringing you some more replays in the near future. So I'll talk to you all later. And New Pride, signing out.